talk to one another, because I did all that in creating this book and more. But the problem with listening to the 30-second soundbite is, one, you never get a rounded view. If you've ever watched the news on any event and you want to try to get a little bit more than what Channel A showed you, so you click Channel B, Channel C, Channel D, they all show you the same thing. It's like you're watching a cloned deal, and that's kind of what the news does. So it gives you a small fraction of information that comes from a source you really don't know where it's coming from, and you don't get anything around it. Same with the internet. The internet's a wonderful tool. I use the internet, embedded over 300 websites that I would pull from to put information in this book. But we all know, and probably your teachers have told you when you do internet research, there's a lot of junk on the internet. There's a lot of crazy stuff on the internet. You know, there's like earlscrazygarage.com. You know, you may land on something like that, and so you have to be very careful when you're researching from the internet. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to go to terrorism symposiums, take a specialized course at Wichita State on the Patriot Act, taught by legal scholars, where we delved into the legal aspects of it, and then was fortunate enough to be able to do some peer review writing with different scholars in the field, where we looked at some of the social issues. And so that was sort of my standpoint. My idea on the Patriot Act is that it's not important for people to learn my position or agree with my position. You won't see in my book, or especially you won't see in my book, any chapter that's the Paul Ibbetson philosophy on the Patriot Act. Because I understand that there's three kinds of people that go into Patriot Act research. Whether it's casual research, whether you just want to know more than nothing, or whether you want to debate and fight on a stance, there's three different kinds of people. People that hate the Patriot Act, people that love the Patriot Act, people that have no clue. And in reality, based on the fact that the law was not made in a learner-friendly manner, and that the outlets to get information are so limited, basically all three groups fall into the very undereducated. So my goal was to educate people as opposed to advocate people. Advocate a certain position that try to force information down your throat. And so I have a chapter in here that gives you the arguments of those that support the Patriot Act, whether it be the Justice Department, whether it be different special interest groups, whether it be people in the field, soldiers, FBI, CIA, and so on. And they lay out their case for you, why they think it was important, how, if we'd had the Patriot Act prior to 9/11, we might have had some different outcomes, how, if without the Patriot Act running on the defensive nature, the defensive fight against terrorism instead of the proactive fight that we have enacted after 2001, how things might be different. But you also get the perspective of those that don't agree with the Patriot Act. People that say, look, I think this is a dangerous law. I think that this opens a Pandora's box. And I give you the perspective, not only liberals, groups like the ACLU, MoveOn.org, groups that I researched thoroughly and took many, many showers after, but also conservatives. Also groups that I do respect, people like the Gun Owners of America, people like the Cato Institute, people like the Conservative Union, and different individuals that I do respect a lot more. I give you their negative views because regardless of where I stand, I think it's important to people to have a rounded view of the different ideas on there. Because why would it matter? Why would it matter? We already renewed it. And then, the thought might be, well, we're done. It's a done deal. But it's not a done deal. We're going to be back in 2009 renewing the same law again. And while in 2005, we had the creation of the Coalition of Opposition, which was a Democrat-led move to block the Patriot Act, which was successful, and forced 2 emergency extensions where the Patriot Act would have sunsetted those sunset provisions. We're going to be doing that again in 2009. And we only had 2 sections that were sunsetted, 2 sections that were supposedly going to come back and renew, but we know from the last time that basically the entire Patriot Act was up for grabs. They can look at any section they want. They can completely get rid of the Patriot Act. And so we'll have some different dynamics going on. One, we're going to have a different president. And we have the flyers here, we're going to have some different elected leaders in Congress. From the original was done with the 108th Congress. The next one was on the 109th. We'll have a different Congress. We'll have a different breakdown. And it'll be pivotal whether or not we have the Patriot Act in the future. And the muscle behind the politicians that will vote will be the American people that call in, that write in, that email in, and say, look, I want this or I don't want this. We saw that with the immigration bill, what the power of the people can do, regardless of where the members of Congress stand, and regardless of their thoughts, they still bow to the will of the people if it's large enough and if it's enthused enough. And so I think it's important that the people that aren't educated are going to get led by the nose. They're going to be following hearsay, propaganda, guesswork, and all the other things that make for foolish decision making. And so let me ask you if there's anything you've heard in the news or any questions that you might have about the Patriot Act that I could, like, shoot you an answer to.
Could you talk just a little bit more about the surveillance aspects and like what all is allowed and not allowed within that?
Well, it's the surveillance, the Title II provisions. Again, there are 10 different sections. The Title II provisions deal with what authority the government has to do surveillance. They're very interesting, and partially it was based on the effectiveness of our surveillance, whether or not I would even give support to the Patriot Act. Because I had to answer the same question I'm asking you guys to answer really yourselves, and would I give support to the Patriot Act? One, does the Patriot Act work? Does it catch terrorists, and does it convict them? Two, does it violate civil rights? These are mutually exclusive questions. So if one worked, but the other didn't, really good at catching terrorists, but it turns us into a big brother state, no, I wasn't going to give it support, and vice versa. So the Title II provisions, the surveillance provisions, are part of what has been useful in the catching of the terrorist cells. One of the first people arrested with the Patriot Act was Sami al-Arian. I don't know if you've heard that name, probably in the news. He was a Florida professor from, in academia that was arrested and convicted of aiding and abetting Palestinian Islamic Jihad. And he's serving his time, and when he's done, we're going to kick him out of the country. And so that was one of the first convictions, one of the first arrests with the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act was also used to catch the Portland 7, an al-Qaeda-based group that had plans to attack Jewish schools, amongst other targets. The Patriot Act was used in bringing up a plot to bring down the Brooklyn Bridge. The Patriot Act was used to catch al-Qaeda members coming to the border by coyotes through their